Hi everybody, this is Scott Dudley from SaaS Startup Stories, and today my special guest is Dave Hurt. Dave's based in Boston and is the founder at Verb, who specialise in dashboards made easy for SaaS platforms. Dave, are you ready to rock and roll?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. All right, let's get started. So usually on this show, we start off with your background and what initially got you interested in starting a SaaS company right back at the very start. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, right out of college, I started in supply chain management consulting, and I thought, wow, this is going to be an awesome career. I'm really excited about the job, and it ended up just kind of being a bust. I wasn't super happy with it. Um, you know, there wasn't a lot for me to do, and so one of my best friends at the time was working at a SaaS startup um, in Cleveland, Ohio. That place is not the startup mecca of the world, but he convinced me to move to Cleveland and start at this company. And I actually took a pay cut to join, got a little equity, and we did online ordering for restaurant chains. So if you ever ordered from Outback, Applebee's, Panera, we built that software, and I was a customer success manager for a while, and then kind of moved into product management there. So kind of fell into it by luck, and I've been in SaaS ever since.
Okay, nice. All right, so just curious, did you borrow VC money to launch Verb or did you bootstrap it instead? Tell us a bit about how you actually got it off the ground and also if it was your first SaaS company too.
Yeah, definitely. So after that company that I moved to Ohio for, I started a software development agency. So we built software for other companies. So we specialized in the SaaS space. We bootstrapped that agency and actually sold that to one of our customers. Um,
Okay.
so when we were starting Verb, this was a few years after we had sold the agency. Um, we decided to spend the first 6 months or so self-funding it. So my business partner and I, we've been working together for quite a while. Um, the first 6 or 8 months was just us doing most of the work ourselves. We had a few contractors helping us, but because we were doing the work ourselves, we didn't have a huge budget. There wasn't a huge payroll, so we wanted to really kind of use that time to investigate and research the problem that we were trying to solve. Um, and so eventually, once we were kind of confident in the solution we were kind of working towards, we had a couple beta customers that were excited about using the software. We went out and we raised a small pre-seed round from angels, and then about a year and a half later after that, we raised a seed round from institutional, and then some angels.
Okay, was it a stressful period, would you say, or?
Uh, Yeah, it was the first time I was, truthfully raising, VC money, uh, and it wasn't as fun as I expected it to be. It's a lot of sales and it's a lot of no's, and you really just got to keep pounding the pavement and
Ah,
keep
yeah.
networking and all that kind of stuff. And so, sales isn't my favorite part of the job, and so um, I really like product. I really like kind of working with our customers, and so it was definitely it's a whole different skill set that I had to really learn and lean on some of my advisors to help with.
So are you more of a coder or are you a non-tech founder?
I'm a non-technical founder.
Yeah.
So, like I said, background is product management. My co-founder is the CTO, and he's a back-end developer by trade, and then we also have a front-end development team that he works with and supports.
Nice. Okay. So I guess looking in hindsight, is there anything you would
Yeah.
change about your approach if you had to do it all over again?
Yeah, I think with our experience on bootstrapping it for the first 6 to 8 months, and then my work doing building the agency, we really bootstrapped that as well. If I had to go back, I probably would actually um, been a little bit more aggressive in hired earlier, try to build out some of the functions of the company that were more of my weak points
Okay.
earlier on. And so what we've done instead is we you know, try to do everything ourselves, Oleg and I. And I think that ultimately, when you try to do too much yourself, it ends up being, mediocre, but you're doing a lot of different things. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that actually hindered some of our growth. So I actually probably would have spent money a little faster.
Okay, interesting. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned about some beta customers. My next question was, how did you get your first 10 customers? Were these like friends and family, or how did you actually get them?
Yeah, so we kind of had two different routes. So when we first started Verb, we were doing research, right? We were really thinking about the problem we were trying to solve, trying to identify the market, who is the right customer, who is the right type of company, and so those initial conversations in that first 3 months, they were not sales at all. They were very discovery oriented, but we always took notes. We always kind of said, well, this person probably would be a good customer, right? Or they fit the ideal profile. So we would kind of save that file away. And
Okay.
so a lot of those early conversations turned into our early beta customers. But then the other thing we did was we wanted to test, the next 3 to 6 months, we wanted to test some of our messaging and sales strategy. So we did built out a few email campaigns around our value props and our target customers, or at least what we thought they were. And so those actually led to both product discovery conversations again, but those also turned into some beta customers. So it's kind of a combination of the discovery calls, networking, but also that cold outreach process of,
Yeah.
just trying to find some good beta customers there.
Okay. All right, cool. So if we move on to the actual product and what Verb does, I'm sort of curious because I build Google Data Studio dashboards myself.
Yeah.
So how is Verb different to Google Data Studio? Maybe tell me a bit about the actual product. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a great question. We get that a lot in our sales conversations.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of adoption of Google Data Studio. They're really doing a lot with it. They're putting a lot of dollars into development and marketing of it.
Yes.
But we're also actually helping some teams roll off of Data Studio for their customer facing dashboards, right? So our real focus and our core value is helping B2B SaaS companies build dashboards for their end customers, right? So you think about,
Okay.
Uber Eats is a great example, right? So Uber Eats, when a restaurant owner logs in, they see a dashboard of their historical data of how many pizzas they sold, how many tips they got, what were their delivery fees, those types of things, right? And so Verb sells to software teams like an Uber Eats who are visualizing data for those end customers.
Yeah.
And so that's a very different kind of problem than, Data Studio, you might think Data Studio is solving, right? Data Studio is creating charts and graphs, but when you're providing that data back to customers, there's a few other things you have to think about, right? You have to think about segmenting your data so that I see my data, you see your data, right? So that's kind of a complex thing in a multi-tenant SaaS environment. And the other is performance, right? So not every Google Data Studio dashboard is really fast, right? Sometimes
Yes.
you build a
Yes.
dashboard, there's lots of joins, there's
Yes.
lots and lots of data. And so Verb actually stands up a data warehouse and manages the warehouse for every customer. So as you're building out your data model and you're building out your visualizations, Verb reverse engineers a data warehouse and the tables in a warehouse to support every dashboard, every chart and tile and filter and all those types of things, so that your dashboards are very performant. So
Okay.
that's a really big differentiator, is that we're actually helping with your data infrastructure, and also, right, that end user experience of embedding it inside of your platform. So those are the big things that we focus on.
Okay.
And yeah.
Yeah, because at the moment I'm building a dashboard in Data Studio, and like you said, there's a few joins, and seriously, sometimes it can take up to 60 seconds for it to actually display the information, and it gets very frustrating. So that's a huge
Exactly.
benefit. Yes.
Exactly. And when people are paying you for those dashboards, right, when they're buying your software and they sit there for a minute or two, it's not a good look for your
It's not,
software,
no.
right?
Yeah.
So we help with that quite a
And
bit.
then there's the other thing too, I guess, that you get what you pay for, and Data Studio is free, and it's a good product,
Yeah.
but it's free. Whereas, if you want a better solution, you've got to pay for it. So that makes sense. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So how are you using email marketing to convert trials to customers and to retain existing customers?
Yeah, so this is an interesting kind of time. So we actually originally had a freemium model that we actually just moved away from, and we're moving more towards 30-day free trials. So with those 30-day free trials, we're doing a lot of support to ensure our customers are seeing the value as fast as possible with Verb. So some of the research we did was trying to find that aha moment, right? Of how do we get our customers to that moment where it clicks of like, that's the value of Verb. And so what we found is, right, they need a little bit of help getting there. And that freemium model just kind of doesn't help with that process. So we get people on these trials. Our engineering team actually provides all the support. So that's kind of a new shift in our business. And so how we're thinking of emails and converting people from trials to customers, et cetera. So, right, a lot of our, converting people from that 30-day free trial into a paid plan is not just about, right, the emails, but about connecting with our new customers and our support team and letting them know about the amount of support that we can provide. So we take the burden right off of them. So a lot of the email back and forth is really more customized, right? But then thinking about the retention side of things, right? We have a really low churn, which is great, but we still do a lot of email marketing, and it's around new features, right? So we kind of break our retention marketing into two, right? So we've got customers who are in Verb almost every day, right? They're like a data analyst. They see all the progress that we're making as far as building new features. They're talking to our support team very frequently, so they kind of know what's coming out. So we don't email them as heavily. But then we've got other users who are there, once a week, once every other week, and we really want to keep showing them the value of the way we're pushing our product forward. So we have basically a weekly update email that's going out with the newest features that we're releasing every week.
Yeah.
So on the retention side, it's much more on what's the progress we're showing, have we fixed bugs, those types of things. And so that's how we've been really thinking about, our retention marketing emails versus our converting our trial emails.
Okay, so do your customers get like an account manager, do they? Is that how it works? Yeah,
pretty much, but the account managers are engineers, which is an interesting kind of twist. So basically, as a new customer gets onboarded, one of our engineering team is assigned to them, and they help get their dashboard built and then help them embed it. So they kind of, an engineer is very hands-on for the first 2 weeks of the project, and then it kind of rolls off to like a more general support team kind of model.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so just curious about customer acquisition channels. What have you found to be the most successful?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we went to our first trade show conference last month, or about a month and a half ago now. And I was really surprised by the amount of follow-ups and conversions we got from that. So I thought it was interesting, right? Leaving the pandemic, really being unsure of this live event kind of process. So that was really interesting, and we've seen some really good results from that. That's more on the recent side.
Yes.
But on the other side, we've taken a pretty targeted approach to outbound campaigns and outbound emails, content, that kind of stuff. It's not full-on account-based marketing strategy, but it's kind of trending in that direction where we're really hyper-targeted on, customers that fit a very specific profile.
Right.
And we're still, because our company is pretty early on, we're still being a little bit particular and picky about the customers we bring on and we provide the support to. But we've really been leaning on that outbound account-based marketing strategies kind of thing that's kind of what the other part has been pretty successful with us.
Interesting. Well, yeah, that leads me into the next question. What are your thoughts on balancing inbound and outbound marketing for best results? So you're leaning more towards the outbound, are you?
Yeah, but one of the things I've overcorrected. I've kind of seen, right, leaning too far one way, you almost lose some effectiveness. And so I was thinking about this a little bit before our call, and I kind of think about them as muscles, right? Like that they both need to be worked out for
Yeah.
it to work well, right? So like if you think about it, you do squats just on your right leg, you're going to be walking around real funny because you're going to have your left leg's going to be tiny, your right leg's going to be huge,
Yeah.
right? You're not going to be able to run very fast. You're just going to be kind of going in circles.
Yes.
And I think it's a similar concept, right? With inbound and outbound. I think they kind of support each other, right? One thing I found with outbound is you need content, right? And you need the um, kind of uh, general conversation about Verb occurring across the web so that when you're doing outbound, there's noise about you, right? And I think inbound, part of your strategy is creating that noise. And so I think they layer really well together. And I don't think you can do one only versus another. And so I think we've been guilty of leaning too far into one versus another. And so we're trying to kind of course correct a little bit right now.
Okay. And then the other thing is it's pretty competitive with outbound. I mean, people are getting so many messages in, pitching
Yeah,
them on stuff. So that's where you got to sort of stand out and do it differently too. That's a bit of a challenge.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think having good content, good, really targeted information, and I think that helps a lot.
Yeah. It
Um,
makes sense.
but yeah, I mean, there's lots to it. There's lots of little tricks to the trade on it. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure you and I both get inundated with outbound email campaigns, and you just delete half of them, right? So you can't
Yeah.
just the spray and pray method isn't quite the right method these days, anyways.
Well, that's what most companies are using, I reckon, the spray and pray method.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's get as many leads in your CRM as possible, and then get a drip campaign, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like, yeah, it doesn't work.
I agree.
It
Yeah.
filter out. But I think if you've got good content as part of it, right? If you're following up with something that's actually valuable, you get a little bit more, um, click through, a little bit more conversion, open rates, that kind of thing. But also, that's why we're kind of tending towards that like quasi account based marketing where we're not just hitting them from like email, but there's a lot of other
Yeah. Channels.
ways to
Yeah.
kind of connect with people online. So, right, outbound can be through LinkedIn, outbound can be through Twitter, outbound can be through email, right? Like, there's
That's
lots of
true.
little ways, right, that we're trying to use different channels in kind of a 360 kind of view of the lead and not just that one email campaign for 5 emails over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, it did work 15 years ago when Aaron Ross wrote that book, Predictable Revenue, but things
Exactly.
changed
Yep.
a bit since then. Yeah.
Too many people have read the book. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. That's the problem. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you mentioned that you don't get too much churn.
Yeah.
But I mean, the churn that you do get, how do you approach minimizing that churn and retaining the paying customers? Is there a strategy for that or?
Yeah. I mean, like I mentioned, we're early on still, right? So
Yeah.
we were able to give a lot of attention to our customers. So there's definitely a lot of support. And so we work with our customers to build our roadmap. So they have a lot of say around what's being built, what's being prioritized, those types of things. And that's really important. And so they see the vision of where we're going and they see what our roadmap is. And so they can really buy into that. Um, and so that's a big part of it.
Mm.
And I think also we've been relatively selective and understanding of the right customer for us right now. We're kind of in that phase where we're starting to try to scale a little bit more. So we're kind of leaving that really narrow focus behind and trying to expand a bit more.
Yeah.
Uh, but we've had churn, and I think a lot of it comes down to just not totally the right fit right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
those types of things. But I think our biggest um, feather in our cap is right. Our support is really on point. We're really talking to our customers all of the time and helping them understand where we're going with our product.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So what would you say is the single biggest challenge you're experiencing right now with growing Verb?
Yeah, yeah, we're a small team. We're 14 people right now, and so keeping up with the demand of building a business is pretty hard, right? So it's
Yeah.
critical to prioritize the right work and invest in the right areas of the business,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And so like in such an early phase, that prioritization can change pretty quick, right? Like it's not something you should change daily because you should have some grand vision that you're working towards. But
Mm.
you do have to be flexible and be able to prioritize as needed to get the next customer and those types of things. And like I mentioned early on, right, I think my business partner and I leaned heavier towards doing a lot ourselves, and that made us grow a little slower. So really getting our team built up to support all these different areas that we're trying to prioritize. There's a lot going on, so that just that's hard.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah. All right. I guess my favorite question of all of them is, what's your favorite
Yeah,
business book?
yeah. I really am. I enjoy Jeffrey Moore's Inside the Tornado and Crossing the Chasm. I think both of those paired together are fantastic, right? There are so many great lessons in there about right how to prioritize, but also building a software product in a business. Um, and one of the big things I've taken away from that with this Verb stuff is right finding the right beta customers, early adopters.
Mm.
Really, like I think early adopters gets thrown around a lot because right Apple and Steve Jobs really kind of touted that over the last 10 years ago.
Mm.
um, but with Verb I've really seen that finding the right beta customers, they will be very forgiving when your system is not doing as well as it should be, because they understand the vision and they see the vision of your business. And so we've had some really fantastic beta customers and early adopters who have both right helped us build the product but also brought in new customers and helped us network with more and more people.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Then just to finish off, where can people go to find out more about Verb?
Yeah, so we're most active on LinkedIn and Twitter, so at Verb Data, and then our website is verbdata.com. So you can see our blog posts and latest information there. And I'm also always happy to chat. My email is dave@verbdata.com. You're welcome to email me anytime, and I will respond as fast as I can.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for coming on the show, Dave. I appreciate your time. It was great.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Cool.